Let me get this file open and make sure it opens for me. Would you believe I've almost used up my 14 gigs of Google Drive?
You have 14 gigs of Google Drive?
That's because I have a lot of friends. And when Google Drive started, every person you introduced to Google, you got more space on it.
But 14 gig is nothing, Kathy. I have 2 terabytes and I am
on your Google Drive
there. Yes.
You must pay for it.
I do. It's not that bad. I pay like $10 a month and it's 2 terabytes and it feels very nice.
I might have to go that route. I'm hesitant to do so.
I have a Google Pixel, and so all the pictures I have in my phone get backed up to the drive. That's why I pay for it. It's magnificent.
I do back up my photos to the drive, but I also have 3 Google accounts. So
we have G Blank and we have Peter Sproul. Thank you for
welcome,
coming.
everybody.
Welcome.
All right. Oh, it looks very good, Andreas, and it's opening.
Awesome.
So you want me to handle running the PowerPoint? Is that the plan?
I think so, because you have the start and you have the end.
Yeah. Okay.
You just let me know when you pass it off to me.
I'm going to move you over to this. I'm moving screens. How many screens do you live with? Do you only have 1 screen?
I only have 2. I cannot live without a second screen. But at work, I have 3.
I want 3 so badly. I'm not so sure I have space on my desk for 3.
This is the thing. Sometimes it's better to just buy a very big one and you can just split the windows on the big one.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. We got time. We're early.
Excited to start the training and to have people coming in. This is awesome. We have 2 minutes before start time, Kathy.
Okay, I'm just trying to remember. I actually am running an eBird count. I should share, everybody. What am I getting? I'm getting to, this is from my office window. I've decided I don't want to ever go to the regular office again because I can't open the windows there. But right now, this morning, I've got Carolina Wren, American Robin, Common Grackle, Red-winged Blackbird, and Northern Cardinal all calling in my office.
That's magnificent. The great things about living in Norfolk County during migration.
Yeah, except I can't, in another month, it'll be so confusing when I go out for the dawn chorus. I'm not good enough. So I'll just go like, oh, I can't understand what these birds are. And I'm trying to train myself better on the passerines because I got my marsh birds down pat. So I'm using Merlin to just practice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I also downloaded on my wife's phone. She's got an iPhone. I downloaded Larkwire. And I try to train myself with Larkwire. It's good.
It's good. We don't have iPhones, so I can't use Larkwire.
That is the limitation of the app. It's not available in Android. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Hello.
1 minute to downtime, Kathy.
Yeah. And everybody's video's on. And everybody's mic is on. So I'm going to start suggesting to people to shut off. That's right, Kaylin.
So given that we don't have a huge group, Kathy, would it be suitable for people to introduce themselves before we start?
I think so. We have the breakout, remember, where we're splitting into groups.
Yeah.
So I was trying to decide whether it was worthwhile or not. I kind of like it when people introduce themselves. It adds. So I would say either introduce themselves or put in the chat. Oh, I should mention, we don't have Kaylee this morning. Kaylee has to go to the lab. So she's going to join me this afternoon. So you and I, Andreas, have to keep track of the questions.
Okay. I'll keep an eye on the chat and maybe people can just kind of share their name and where they're from. You can either do it on the chat or on your mic. We can take a couple of minutes.
I'll start. Good morning. My name is Gail, and I live in Babby Point. I've been a member of the Toronto Ornithological Group for a month now, a month and a half. So I'm a rookie's rookie.
Welcome, Gail.
Thank you.
Gail, for us geographically challenged people, where's Babby Point?
Oh, Jane and Annette.
Oh, okay. So you probably know Andreas because you're from the big city now.
Okay, Bloor West Village.
Okay. Anybody else want to share in the chat, or you're welcome to
Hi,
talk?
I'll just test to see if I'm here.
You're here.
It's Mark. Okay. Okay, you can hear me.
Yes.
So I'm just further down the road from Annette in Toronto and looking over High Park. And my name's Mark, and there's Jack. And
Hey, Mark. Good morning.
longtime birder, member of the TOC, a friend of Sam Smith. So looking forward to the project. My brother is someone recently disabled and always interested in naturalizing. So hopefully we'll make a team and find out what needs to be done.
Mark, now I know who you are. You have been my volunteer in some of the Birds Canada programs in the past.
Is
I don't
that
know if you
Karen?
are. It's Kathy.
Kathy, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nice to see you. I missed the intro. So I didn't catch your name.
All right. I see a lot of people introducing themselves in the chat. Should we get going, Kathy?
I think we should actually. So welcome everyone. I am just going to start our screen display here. So give me a second.
Sandra is here too. Jack is here. Jenna
And
from Windsor, Essex. That's awesome. Chris, you're from Vaughan. I'm located in Vaughan too.
all right, now the only thing I haven't figured out yet is I've lost my toolbar to share screen. So I got to find it again.
It happens.
It happens. Too many screens, even though there's not enough screens.
Well, in the meantime, while Kathy looks for her her toolbar, my name is Andres Jimenez. Pronouns are he, him. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to be one of your trainers for today. I'm going to be co-sharing this presentation with Kathy during for the first part of the training, and then Kathy will take it away with Sandra in the afternoon. We're very happy to have you here. I'm a biologist, I'm a birder, recently disabled, by the way, with a small disability. I have neck arthritis. It's those warblers. The problem is those warblers for sure. And I've been working with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion topics since I started with Birds Canada. And I worked a lot trying to make birding more accessible for people. I am a birdability captain, or I was. And in my new employer, I also are part of the DEI initiatives. Off to you,
Thank
Kathy.
you. Over to me. First off, I'm just hearing my husband working on the truck outside. If people hear it over my microphone, let me know and I'll shut windows. But my name is Kathy Jones, and I'm turning into this call from Port Road, Ontario, actually St. Williams, so just outside of the Long Point Peninsula. And my pronouns, which I never remember, my kids tell me not to worry about it because I'm too old, are she, her. And I have a history with family who have had disability concerns, a child with an invisible disability. And through all this process, I have moved towards involvement in the Special Education Advisory Committee at my school board, and have spent a lot of time over the last couple of years reviewing accessibility issues for children. So it's become an integral part of my life, and somehow it is overlapped into birding at this point. So I'm combining the both as a volunteer for this working group. Also, they're in the background, so they may only pop in if they have any question, if people need them to help questions, is Jack Alva, whom a lot of you, Jack, who a lot of you have probably emailed back and forth with, because he's been doing a lot of the emailing for the enabled email, as well as Sandra Marquez, who is our GIS specialist, and we could not do this without her. So a thank you to Sandra for all of her hard work to get us here. What do you think? Are we just going to stick with the people introduce themselves in the chat? Andreas? Yay, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I think we can get going with the training now.
Are you hearing David's pounding at all, or is it just bugging
No,
me?
not at all.
Okay, then it's just bugging me. Then I'll put up with it.
Yes.
So moving ahead, I wanted to provide a land acknowledgement. I chose this image from Turtle Island from University of Toronto website because we only have one home. And we share this home with all voices and worldviews, and it's important. But I would especially like to acknowledge the traditional peoples of the land. So I offered this land acknowledgement in recognition of the Indigenous people and communities on whose lands this project will occur, which are quite a few. I myself am located on the North Shores of Lake Erie, and that is the traditional and unceded lands of the Mississauga, Haudenosaunee, Adirondack, and Anishinaabe peoples, and I apologize for the pronunciations. And they are the traditional peoples of these lands. And I'm also within the 1792 Treaty 3 area. Since the beginning, Indigenous people have inhabited these lands, which are still home to diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. On behalf of Birds Canada, I would like to note that Birds Canada understands that Indigenous voices, knowledge, and ongoing work on the land are critical for wild birds to thrive in sustainable ecosystems. We support the needs, aspirations, and rights of the Indigenous peoples to care for the land. Now, you might have noticed I said Birds Canada. That's because, as well as being a volunteer for this program, I work for Birds Canada, which is one of the 3 partners. And I'll just mention it here because the logos are at the bottom of the screen. Ontario Federation of Ornithologists and Toronto Ornithological Club. Those are the 2 other original partners for this program. So for this workshop, there's actually 3 of them. So they're a little complex, and don't hesitate to ask questions during this. The first one, which we're having right now, we're trying to keep them relatively short, is an introduction and a basic under the hood talk about what we're trying to achieve. The second one this afternoon is all about using the technologies and trail assessment terminology. You'll also notice you got a pre-homework form. So there is some independent activities involved with this. We would like you to refresh your knowledge of the app mobile module videos and test the app, and you'll have more information on how to do that later. Prepare any questions for our 3rd webinar, because the third workshop is all about what you need to know. And we'd like you to scan the protocol. Then workshop 3, which we will schedule before the end of today, is a training wrap up. And I'll have a question roundtable and a technology review. Then after that, you get an opportunity to spend your time reviewing the protocol, which we will share by end of day. And you can learn the definitions and you can ask lots of questions. So there's a lot to take in there, but I think we've got it chunked out nice. So we're hoping everybody can learn. So a little bit of housekeeping while we're here. If possible, if you're not talking, please mute and unmute when you want to talk. Feel free to use the hand. And there's a couple reasons for that. If you use the reaction raise hand item, it puts you to the top of the picture so we can see you want to talk. It also tells us who wants to talk and we can fit it in. If you need closed captioning, let me know in the chat and I will send you a link. Maybe I'll just put that up now because I'm thinking that's going to be hard for people to do. I'll put that up in a minute. And if you're having any broadband issues because your Wi-Fi, your broadband isn't good enough, I recommend first shutting off your video. If it still doesn't work for you, shut our video off and just listen to the disembodied voices, because I think that's the best way to cut down on broadband problems. So Andreas, I'll turn it over to you. I believe this is the spot, is it not?
Yeah.
And I will
Right,
put up
so
that link I promised in the website.
Thank you.
Yep.
For this first training, we're going to be talking about the learning timeline. We're going to have a look at the background. How did this program get started? The goal, the initial targeted disabilities we're working with, how we're trying to enable an experience in the outdoors. We're going to have a breakout chat that Kathy's going to wonderfully work because I have no idea how to do it. And then accessing nature considerations, what is physical accessibility, the access to nature beyond a disability barriers. Then we're going to talk about different types of barriers. What is equality versus equity, which could be familiar topics to everyone, but we want to set a base of knowledge for everyone. And then how we're surveying birding locations together. And this will be for our first training. Can we go to the next slide, Kathy? And the next one. So let's talk about background now that we have that beautiful bird. How did it get started? Well, it started back when I was in Birds Canada, and it was started by OFO and the TOC, and then Birds Canada was brought on board. There was a need that all the partners recognized that there are barriers to access high quality information on good birding locations. This used to happen to me as an immigrant. When I first got here, and it still happens to me when I want to find salamanders or snakes, knowing what are the good places to visit is very hard already. And knowing which of these places are accessible, knowing if they have trails suitable for walkers or for canes or for mobility devices is very challenging, and knowing if trails are suitable for people with low vision, it's even more challenging. And so we decided to try to address this barrier, and the partners shared the goal of accessibility, and we created committees to start working on on a way to close that gap of information about good birding locations and their accessibility ratings. um, can we go to the next slide? The goal is to have an app and a map system that can provide accessibility information about birding locations in Ontario. We're starting a lot with Southern Ontario, but as we get more volunteers, we're trying to move as north as possible. One of our volunteers and leaders, Leona Matiz, has worked a lot in Sault Ste. Marie and in that area, and we've been trying to move as north as we can. We're trying to create a system, a self-growing program with trained community teams that can continue to evaluate sites around them. Can we go to it? There you go. A lot of the discussions, or a lot of the initial discussions were, well, there's a broad range of disabilities. Where are we going to start, and what is our capacity? We're a whole bunch of volunteers. We don't have a lot of funding, so what can we tackle? And so our initial focus had been mobility challenges. We recognize that there's visual impairments, hearing impairments, development impairments, intellectual disabilities, mental health issues that can be very important to consider. But at this point, we're first starting with mobility challenges, trying to understand how accessible the trails are for people that have walking devices, that use wheelchairs, and that would have troubles accessing birding locations. And that's where we're starting. And we're hoping, with everything we do, we try to consider as many disabilities as we can. It comes with limitations, technology, for example. When we were designing the apps, where they're suitable for screen readers, was this a disability we could take into account? And so every time we work on developing new strategies, we always try to consider as many disabilities as we can, but we obviously have limitations. And for now, we're focusing on mobility challenges. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. We've been using a lot the word enabling, because when working with accessibility and disabilities, it's easy to get things wrong. It's easy for ableism to take over. And it's important to define what ableism is, because we're all guilty of it. And it's not because we are intentionally discriminating against people with disabilities, because we live in a society that does not understand or value disabilities. And so ableism is the belief that people with disabilities have less worth than people without disabilities. Some people may hold the false belief that people with disabilities matter less than not disabled people, that they could do less things, that they cannot contribute to society, or that they need help from non-disabled people. And so That's why we're trying to use the word enable. And that's why we're trying to remember that at all times we could get this wrong, and that we need to be open for feedback, and that we need to take on that feedback, apologize and make amends, and then try to correct our ways so we can do it better. And this is an attitude that I would recommend everyone to have at all times. We have an advisory team that has been guiding this process. We're going to have site evaluations teams. Claps to everyone that is here, site evaluation teams. And we always want to keep our eyes and ears open to listen to those who have lived experiences so we can understand better how to enable people to access the outdoors. Can we go to the next slide? And please ask questions as you have them. We have a breakout chat. We're going to take a couple of minutes to just go to the breakout or just chat about why did you get involved and your name and why do you care about this. Are we going to go into break rooms or are we going to do it here in the main chat, Kathy?
We are going to go to break rooms as soon as I
Okay.
remember how to do this. All right, I think I have to stop the share. And then I go breakout rooms. This is the first time I've done this, so everybody fingers crossed. I've got 5 rooms that are randomly assigned, and hopefully we'll all go in. We have 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes. Go, Kathy. Go, Kathy. Go, Kathy.
I don't know how to get everybody in the rooms. Okay. Okay. Oh, I have to sign you individually. Oop. You're all going to slowly go in.
We might
Okay.
be the first
I
ones
guess
back.
this is the yeah. I guess this is the main room. It's just us again.
Nice.
I'm so unsavvy with Zoom.
I'm too
Mm.
familiar with Zoom. I've used Zoom too much in the past.
Oh, I
years.
feel like I'm lost. Yeah, because if you press the leave button, it just kicked you back into the same space.
I
Oh, there you go.
I will say that I purposely let it run a little bit longer because not everybody was able to get out. Did everybody manage to get back into this one? Are we
Yeah.
missing anyone?
Yeah, I heard some fantastic stories of why people were here having family with disabilities or being interested on the topic themselves. It was awesome. Thank you for sharing. Should we go into the presentation again, Kathy?
We should. I just want to make sure everybody managed to come back.
Kathy, it's
Yes.
Jack here. I think I see everybody here that was here before.
Okay.
But I do have one question, because most people have identified themselves in the Zoom, but there's one person who's identified themselves as iPad 8.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say hi to you, but I don't know who you are.
It's Wendy.
Oh, hi, Wendy. Okay, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just
responded.
using.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm just using my husband's iPad, so.
All right, let's go into
Okay.
the.
No, that's great. Nice to say hello.
Okay. We'll go back to the presentation here.
Thank you.
There you go. And then move on to the next one.
Yeah. So let's ground ourselves on physical accessibility. There are many types of accessibility, and accessibility is very sometimes difficult to define. And there are many laws contemplating accessibility. There are many laws dealing with disabilities and with discrimination. And so we want to set ourselves on physical accessibility, which refers to the design of products, devices, services, or environments for people who experience disabilities. This is according to AOTA. For those that don't know AOTA is the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act from 2005, and it protects those rights to, let's move into the next slide. But accessibility and access to nature goes beyond a disability, and I would like to remind us of that. It affects people of color, it affects people of limited financial resources, it affects women who don't feel as safe as men in the outdoors, who do not have a safe experience in the outdoors as men do, which is different. It can also affect immigrants, it can affect urban residents, which are very far away from nature, could be nature deprived. People without cars, if you don't have a car, accessing nature and the wilderness can be incredibly challenging. And astoundingly enough, it can affect Indigenous people a lot. Please, if you hear my kids yelling, please do let me know. Let's move into the next slide. And there are many barrier types that it's important for us to remember. There are social barriers in which you don't feel welcome or the space is not safe for you. You feel threatened. And these barriers can be experienced all the way from the lack of an inclusive language. Sometimes I arrive to a birding spot and someone makes a joke. It's $10 for view. And it's a joke, it's a friendly joke, but at some point you feel like, $10, why? Why do I have to pay you? And even though it's a joke, it can make you feel like you don't belong. It can also go to signaling out people with disabilities or signaling out people when you're leading a walk and you just go and tell someone, hey, don't you need to go to the bathroom? And you signal them out just because you think that they need to go to the bathroom more than someone else. And so making making space for people to feel safe, threatened, and unthreatened, and that they belong, it's something that we need to do every day. But then there's also economic barriers, cost reductions that can improve the access to sites. Equipment, binocular landing, transportation, food costs can be very limiting for many people that have capacity issues. And generating social equality and equity for people to access nature is important for everyone. We all need nature. And then if we can press one more button to go to the next slide, Kathy, there you go. We're focusing on physical accessibility, which is the construction aspects of locations that ensure access to all. Universal design is achieved when someone with a disability can safely access a space on their own. This is something that has very important for me to learn in my accessibility journey. A place is accessible when someone with disability can go on their own, not with the help of someone that is fully abled. This is something very important to remember as you assess a location. Can someone with a specific disability use this trail or this site without anyone's help? Can we go to the next one, Kathy? And so some examples, bird watching. I remember I used to work with kids with blindness, and I had to make such a huge effort to not say bird watching at all times, because people experience birds with many senses, not only by watching them. I bet many of you here do birding mostly by ear, and so you don't just say I'm bird watching all the time, right? Or you just don't think you're bird watching all the time. A trail with no bathroom is an example. You could have incontinency, or you could have bladder issues, or you could be have mobility limitations that do not allow you to use a bathroom, and so you need an accessible bathroom, and that's an example of physical limitations. Narrow trails with obstacles that do not allow someone on a wheelchair to go through them, or that do not allow someone with a cane to go through them. And then the detailed trail information on a birding hotspot is limited. That's also another barrier. Can we go to the next one, please? Why is this important? Well, first of all, justice. We all need nature, and we should all be able to access nature. But then, as I found out with my neck arthritis, after 60 years old, 85% of the population is going to have neck arthritis. That's just one type of disability. We are all going to have a disability in the future, and the birders of today are the disabled birders of tomorrow. In Canada alone, there are 6.2 million of people with disability, 1 in 5 people. And this is going to keep on increasing. And we should envision a society that cares and protects birds. And for us to fulfill that vision, we all need to chip in. We all need to contribute. People that are fully able or people that are disabled, we all need to have this enjoyment of nature so we can all contribute to the conservation of nature. We need to be careful with assumptions. This slide has changed a lot. We had invisible disabilities, we had diabetes, we have other things, and then we started receiving feedback. What is not a disability? What is a disability? And then Kathy was able to capture this on this way. We don't need to categorize it. We can just see the continuum, the wide array of disabilities that can go from ADHD and neurodivergence to heart conditions, muscular dystrophy, blindness, paralysis, sensory allergies, deafness, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, learning disabilities, multiple sclerosis, bipolar disorder, mobility challenges. And many of this you can see, but many of those you cannot. So the one thing I would say is do not make a single assumption. When we do assumptions, when we assume things, is when we fall into ableism. And it is important to remember that even if a person does not look like they have a disability, they might very well have one. And it's their prerogative to come forward and share if they need adaptations, if they need accommodations. But what you can do is not to single them out, not to separate them, and you can create a safe space for them. So just don't assume anything. Can we go to the next slide?
I have
Like
a poll
this.
for this.
There you go. Let's do a poll.
Let's do a poll. So everybody get a good look at this because the poll will cover it after. So we'll give everybody 10 seconds to look at that. All right. And then I'm going to do the poll and you can tell me what you think it is.
Launch the poll.
There you go.
If you were to see someone using this, what would you think they were doing?
I think we pretty much have everybody here. Hopefully when I end the poll, you get the results. All right, here we go. Do you guys see the results?
Yeah.
Yep. So we have 60% got it right. It is a reading pen. And 40% said a glucometer, which is, if funny enough, the first time I put this in there, Andreas thought this is a glucometer. And he
Yeah, I did.
and I said, nope. And the reason I know about this item is because my involvement with special education. So this is a pen that if somebody cannot decode words, they can use this pen to scan text and it speaks back to them and tells them what the text says.
Wow.
So it's very important for those who have reading challenges or intellectual disabilities. So it's just an interesting view of what in the future we could bring into play with other less visible disabilities. Over to you again, Andres.
Yeah, I think in this point, it's important to remember that I used my bias when I thought this was a glucometer and I made an assumption, and that is a bit like ableism. And so it's important to remember that we should avoid or that we should constantly be open to feedback and that we should avoid those assumptions. And I would like to remember everyone that we are not here to help those in need. We are here to provide tools to allow disabled people to access nature with greater independence. And that's, I think, the lesson from this. What I would like everyone to take from this training. Can we go to the next one, Kathy? And in doing that, it's important to remember the difference between equality and equity. Many of you might have seen this image. It's one of the most clear pedagogic images I've ever seen. Equality is giving someone the same to everyone. But equity is to give people what they need in order for them to succeed and belong. And so in the first example, we could give everyone a box and that wouldn't solve the problem for one of the users. Or in the second example, we could give one of the users 2 boxes and it will solve every user's problem. And that is very important to remember as we work on this. Can we go to the next slide, please, Kathy? And I think this is up to you, Kathy.
It is. And I don't have a lot more slides left. So we will just be running a little bit longer talking before questions than we'd planned, which, okay, let's be honest, it's probably pretty normal for Andreas and I to do that. So we'll get going on here. So my job next is to explain, and this is just a quick overview of the protocol because everybody's saying, I don't understand how this is different. So we're going to go over that and we're going to give a bit of discussion on the protocol. And then we're going to go into more details after lunch at the 1 o'clock session. So we've chosen 12 pilot locations and that's totally based on feasibility. We did a bit of a journey to figure out which places had some access and had good birding because, hey, we're all birding groups. And so we chose these 12 pilot locations to look at. And we do feel that they're a good selection for a start. There's no doubt everybody can think of a better place elsewhere, but this is a good start. Oop, did I miss one? No, we did not. So we also have what we call a working map. And this will give you an idea what it looks like. And this is just data that Sandra has put into this working map for us to look at. So you'll see in the Dundas, I call it Coots Paradise because I'm in the marshes area, that you're going to see the red lines are trails. And those are trails that we would like to see mapped. And all the other things on there are accessible items that we've already discovered during the testing phase. They won't be staying there, and and this is literally what we're going to do is we're going to go around and take those trails and map them, and then add all the amenities and all the important features to that map. Then later we're going to turn it over to Sandra, and she's going to do her wonderful magic, and we're going to end up with an interactive map. So we are using 2 fantastic apps. You can download them for free, and I'm pretty impressed with both. The first one is ArcGIS Survey 123, which is basically just like any data form you ever seen, except it's on an app. The second one is ArcGIS Quick Capture, but I'm quite excited about using. And then we have arranged a special cloud server so that all the data we collect goes to this cloud server. And from then it will be analyzed and used later. There's 3 underlying forms. So you have these 2 apps, and within these apps, these are forms that you fill out. And there's 3 underlying forms: the site general evaluation, the trail features, and the trail surface and elevation. Now, someone mentioned in our breakout group about the common denominator among all the people she did 5 questions for 4 was that they all didn't like being surprised by elevation. So that's interesting to know that we will be looking into elevation in depth in this process. So what are the apps doing? Well, the apps are basically collecting all that general information that everybody wants to know about a site, but they're identifying it directly back to location information. So if you put in the information on the bathroom, you ask all these questions about the quality and the amenities at the bathroom, but you also click on a map and you map it right to where it exactly is. And this is done for all the amenities on the trail, all the amenities at the starting point. We also use Quick Capture to look at the details of the trail when it comes to elevation, road conditions, trail conditions, obstacles. All that is captured and connected again to an exact location. And we will use that to develop this very special interactive map at the level. So right now it looks like you're just taking a bunch of apps and you're just taking a bunch of data and it goes somewhere. And that's basically what it is. The final map itself will not be available until it's completed. We're hoping for fall migration. It would be ideal if it's available for fall migration, but this is a pilot study, so we'll see as we go. So what do you need? This is basically what you need for your device. You need an Apple or an Android device. It can be a phone, it can be a tablet. If you want to take your laptop, you can, but it could be a little clunky. And it has to take the apps. And you need for Android 6.0 Marshmallow or later. And for iOS, you need 13 or later. And I looked it up. I think the 13 first came out in 2019. So if you updated your phone since 2019, I think you'll be okay. We also need internet access, not necessarily in the field. You don't have to have it in the field. We've got that sorted out. You can do these things without using your data, but you're going to need Wi-Fi at home or cell phone data, one or the other. We also have some concerns about battery use. Sandra tested hers and she had it going for 4 hours and her battery kept up. So far, my battery's keeping up, but you may want to spend the money on a battery pack if you don't have one already. I think many of us anymore have those no matter what, but you may find that very useful to stick in your back pocket or in your knapsack when you're out. Now we have these teams. This is a team activity. It can't be done by a single person, not well. So a team goals are to assess trails in your hotspot, ensuring the challenge of enabled birding is met and lived experiences are considered. You start with the most obvious trails on your hotspots, the ones that you're pretty certain are accessible. And you do as many trails as possible in the time available for you. Like we all have busy life. We all have other things responsible for. We all experience tired, especially if it's spending half our days doing other things, and etc. So you have to set your own personal limits with and work that in with the team and get as much done as you can. Of course, we want to see everything done, but we're realistic here. We know it won't be. So just try to achieve as much as you can of the trails. So your job while doing this is to use the information on the app questionnaires and collect data on surfaces, bathrooms, dimensions, slopes, and any other features that might help people with a disability determine if that trail is right for them. So we are not determining ourselves if it's right. We are providing them with the data to determine themselves. Your assessment will not be perfect. None of us are perfect. Where it's a pilot program, it's an app, we're all learning. It will not be perfect. But right now, there's nothing comparable out there. So we want these assessments done to give people the opportunity to learn and to decide on their own. So they're all modules and you all got these, and we can share them again later and help you through learning the apps. The apps are actually incredibly easy to learn, but Sandra has done these fantastic modules, and I recommend that you go over them a couple times. Quick Capture does provide a login, and we'll go over that later as well. And then pretty much that's all we're going to cover in this one. So that's it. That's the basic early stages of this program that we can share with you. And I'm going to stop sharing here. And then we're happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Well, we have the first question in the chat, and this could be addressed by Sandra or Kathy, is where do we get the QR code for survey 123?
It's in the protocol, which you're going to get today.
Yes, we're going to send you a protocol. We've been really working on this. Like the whole team has put so much work into how to guide you properly. And yes, you don't have it yet. Correct. Thank you for the very good question, Lindsay. We've created a protocol. We recommend you should read the protocol before downloading the apps, and even you can read the protocol before you look at the videos. So first read the protocol, then look at the videos. We're going to look at those videos in today's afternoon as well, and so you can see them a couple of times. The apps are very easy to learn. What can require experience to learn is how to answer the questions on the app. For example, it's going to tell you that a certain degree of slope is right and a certain degree is too much. And so how to assess that slope can be tricky. How to assess the size or the wideness of a door in a bathroom, that can be quite tricky. How to assess if a bathroom is accessible or not, that can be tricky. The apps should guide you, should give you enough information as for you to use your judgment and pick a choice of the choices that the app is giving you. So you don't have to describe it yourself, you don't have to measure it, but the app is going to give you choices and you can choose one of them. And so it should guide you, but that's going to come with experience. And I think this is a good time to have more questions and comments.
I should mention, Andreas, that it is a learning curve, right? We all know this. So when you see the app, it's got a lot of detail because this is a new subject for many of us, but don't get overwhelmed with it. Take your time, chunk it up. If you do better with videos, there's lots of videos. Now, for you people who have already uploaded your survey 123, I'm going to put a link to another app on them, and feel free and try it. This is our feedback app, which is not in the protocol. There's a web browser in the protocol. So if you click on that link, it will take you to a QR code and you can test drive it. And we ask questions away as well. And that will get you started, at least knowing that you've got your survey 123 set up. A note for you guys, you don't have to sign in to use survey 123 for this project. Okay. And I see the next one is from Jenna. We will not be set to start after sessions 1 and 2 today. And the reason why I say that is because we have it set up for draft testing. So you can go out and fool around and not worrying about data. You could just use the apps away and try them out. And then that's one conversation we have to have here is, when do we open it up for real data? And I'm thinking the last Monday of the month. That gives everybody a good chance, but I would love to have people's thought on that. But definitely it won't be available for Point Pelee in the next 2 days, although that sounds like a fun trip, Jenna.
So in other words, you will be able to fool around, get any data, and then by the last Monday of the month, we will erase all of it. And then we start over. That way you don't have to worry about errors or about practicing. We will all clear it.
Do we
Also,
have other-
Lindsay also asked if the 1 p.m. session will be recorded, and I believe it will be recorded and shared with everyone.
Yes, that's the plan. I believe I'm recording this one too, but now I can't see it.
Yeah, you're recording.
Good. And we will also, the other thing we need to decide today, so if you guys are not in the next section, maybe I should put the second poll up. I'm trying to get a bead on when we should hold the next, the workshop
Third
3.
session. Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm going to put this poll up and let people answer it and see if any of these dates work for you. And maybe none of them will work. And maybe we have to look at another date. Is it showing, Andreas?
Yeah, it is showing.
And it's supposed to be multiple choice, so you can choose all of them. And we can let this one run for a while and answer questions.
Mhm.
Do we have any other questions at all while we're sitting here?
People are having fun with going to Pili. I'm gonna be
Oh,
there. I'm gonna be there as well. And the second weekend of May and third weekend of May, people want to say hello. We're gonna be, a friend of mine and me are gonna be running some indigenous bird walks. So if people want to drop by, we're gonna be having some indigenous bird walks. I am not indigenous, FYI, but I have supported an indigenous person into building and sharing this knowledge. So we have a comment that for the poll, Friday is the 21st, not the 20th. And so take the days of the week into account instead of the specific number of the calendar number.
and I see nobody wants to work on Friday. Oh, somebody wants to work on Friday now. So right now, it looks like our best choices are Wednesday and Thursdays, and 7 p.m. is the best choice. Is there anybody who can't make one of those days at all, but can make a different day? Okay, Lindsay and Cal cannot do Thursday. You will receive the protocol as soon as I hit the button to send it to you, whomever asked. Anybody else can't do Wednesday?
So Wednesday it is.
Wednesday it is.
Can someone not do Wednesday?
Nope, Andrew can't. All right.
He can do 7:30. Can't make Wednesday, can't do 7. Okay.
Well, 7:30 is the preferred time on Wednesday anyways.
There you go.
We got 80% for that day. See, this is where it gets fun about polls. Which one works? Maybe we'll do the Wednesday and have, Wednesday at 7, Thursday, 30, and we'll make sure it is taped. The protocol, let me just drop it in here.
For Andrew.
The protocol, like I said, this is our first attempt. It's a pilot project. One thing you'll find out when we say it, we have a version date on it. And that's because, in my opinion, it's incomplete. And why it's incomplete is 2 reasons. One, we're going to drop in the links for these webinars once we get them on YouTube. And 2, at the very last appendices of the protocol is all the fields. And it's a massive number. If we put definitions in there about everything we're going to collect, we're going to be getting close to 60 pages. So we did not do that. But I would like people to let me know if they have any confusion about any of those fields of data that they take. And then we can add those definitions in. Because if you're having a problem with it, then somebody else is going to too. So, and we might miss it. Everybody has different knowledge bases, right? Like, what was the one that caught my bollard? Do you know what a bollard is, Andreas? That's those cement things they put in front of doors at stores to prevent cars from going in.
I didn't know how those were called.
So it's important. And I'll make sure Jack has that. We'll send everybody around a link on that as well. Did we have any more questions, Andreas?
If we don't, we can give people back 7 minutes of their life and thank them for
Sure.
joining us. This is going to come to life thanks to you.
No, I
And
am.
without you, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah. I am wondering if anybody tried that QR code that I put up and if anybody managed to get the feedback in before we take off. Thumbs up or hands up if you guys tried it. Maybe you're all smart and don't do things like that in the middle of a meeting. QR code work. Good to hear. And again, we can thank Sandra for that wonderful feedback opportunity. It's important to know what works and what doesn't work at all times with this program. And I will stop talking too. So,
Kathy, it's Jack
yes.
here. Is this a good time to talk about the allocations to different locations?
I think it's an excellent time. Do you want sharing rights, Jack?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody say hello to Jack. He's been handling the assignment of routes and talking to everybody in the background. You should be able to share, Jack.
Let's see. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So a couple of things. First of all, since I've been corresponding with most of you, it's wonderful to finally put a face to the name. And we have, I think about half of the folks who've signed up for this project are here today. The others have all said that they would like to catch up when the recordings are available. In terms of allocating people to specific locations, I would say I think we have barely enough volunteers to cover all of the locations. And so I've tried to take three things into account. Number one is, where do you live? And so how far are you from any of the locations that need to be surveyed? The second is, what preferences have you listed for places that you'd like to survey? And the third is that some locations have a lot of trails, so we need more people at those locations and perhaps fewer people at other locations. I'm going to send this around to everybody by email either today or after the sessions. But here's kind of a first look, and hopefully you can find your name here. I know that I sort of have to move the screen down so that you can see all of the locations and all of the names. If you're not comfortable for whatever reason with the location that we've tentatively assigned you to, you'll have well, please let me know by email. And something else that's very important, I'm not sure if Kathy and Andres mentioned this yet, but the surveys will be done in teams of 2 or 3 people at a time. And that's mainly because 2 apps need to be operated at the same time, and it's not really practical to do that on one phone. So you'll be going out in either 2 people at a time or 3 people at a time. And it would be really helpful if I could share your email address with the other people on your team. So for example, if you're assigned to Tommy Thompson, there are 4 people here, I'd like those 4 people to have each other's email addresses so that you can coordinate with each other and pick a time to survey together or any other coordination that has to be done. So I'm going to ask you either in the chat right now or by email later to please confirm that it's okay for me to share your email address with the other people in the specific group that you've tentatively been assigned to. I hope that makes sense. And I think that's all I have for now, unless there are any questions right off the bat.
You're getting lots of okay to share, Jack. I was wondering if I had a question, but I don't think I do. And we'll give a few more minutes for things to run. And you also all have the enabled at OFO email. And so that you can reach out to Jack that way as well. I'm just checking to see if there's any more questions. Oh, I know what it was. Andrew would like to stick and talk around to you, Jack, about Pascal, if you have time. Do you have time to stay on for a few minutes?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So, Andrew, I think this is the webinar. So if you just want to go ahead and turn on the mic, feel free. There might be questions that you have. Yes, the 1 p.m. is recorded, Rebecca. So you'll be able to find the link once I get it uploaded. I just have to get it uploaded first. So if you want to go ahead and talk, go ahead, Andrew. And unless it's something you want the rest of us off for.
No, that's fine. So Jack, you were saying about going to Presqu'île. Is there anything else you want to talk about with that, or?
No, at this point, probably not. I'm trying to find Presqu'île here on the list. There's a person by the name of Olivia Quinney, who I think lives closer to Presqu'île than you and I.
Okay.
And there's a possibility of getting some other people through. I guess we've been contacting Ontario Parks, but because there are a lot of trails to be surveyed at Presqu'île, it would be ideal if we could get another couple of people. So we'll see what transpires over the next few days.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
I totally missed your whole conversation, Jack, so I hope it went well.
Absolutely, it did.
It looks like we can say goodbye to everybody and see everybody at 1. Thank you so much for showing up today. I think it'll be fun at 1. We're going to go over the apps, so feel free to try to start that QR code. You have the other QR codes. I need to mention again that teams need to decide, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier, teams need to decide who their queue person is. And queue is a person who's running quick captured. That doesn't have to be done today, but we only have a limited number of quick capture codes, so you'll only be able to use it if you get a login. And we can sort that out a little bit more at the end of the meeting or when Jack starts talking to people.
Yeah, but I just want to add, that's why we need your email address, name, and surname in order for me to open an account in our server.
I think we have all those already, Sandra. The only thing we may want is make sure, like if they're already using Survey 123 or something like that, make sure we have the same account. So for those of the people who use those things already, but I don't know how many that will be.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jack, do you want to stay on a couple more minutes, or are we good to go?
I'm happy to stay if anybody has any questions, but otherwise I think we're good to go.
Well, I'm going to stop your sharing if I can.
I can do that.
I think you have to. There. Okay. And I'm going to stop the recording. I think we can stop that now.